Welcome back to Sims Complete. I'm Matt Sims alongside the GOAT, Phil Sims. But no, we actually have a special guest today, and that is Joe Theismann, Washington Redskins quarterback, Notre Dame quarterback, a Jersey guy, fellow Jersey guy. Joe, me and you are the only real Jersey guys here today. Big Phil is just a pretender of a New Jersey guy from Kentucky.
That's true.
Yep. So we just want to clear the air with that one.
Well, Matt, did he pay you to call him the GOAT? I mean, I got to know this. Is that a fatherly, affectional thing?
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
We're doing shows together. You have to refer to me as the GOAT. Other than that, I'll find some other.
Absolutely, it is. Yes, it is part of my payment each and every week.
Oh boy, you listen to you now. Okay, I remember this. You know, Joe. Before we came on the air, we were telling some stories, and everybody was listening. You want me to get into those stories?
No.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Moving along now.
First of all, thank you for asking. We were great competitors. The Giants, the Redskins, we went at it tooth and nail. And I'm going to tell a funny story though, because your father's passing statistics are very misleading, Matt. And I'll tell you why. Uh-oh. The old Giant Stadium had two doors. Listen, now you know what it's going to be, don't you?
I know what's coming.
They had these two big sliding doors, and of course it's the Meadowlands and it's windy.
Right.
So, the one door was down, the other door was up. So I always noticed that when we were going towards one direction in the stadium, the door was open and the wind was in our face. And I'd turn around and look behind me and the other door was closed, the direction Phil was going in. We'd change quarters and all of a sudden we still had the wind in our face. They raised that door and they closed the one behind Phil. And I'm thinking, of course he played well in Giant Stadium. He never had to throw into the wind like all of us that went there as visiting teams. And
let me tell you something.
So one day he says, well, let me finish. So one day he says to me, he says, Joe, you just got to give it up.
Yes, that is a myth that is absolutely not true. It's a myth. The wind blew the same way on that stadium every game of my career.
Yeah, behind you.
And everybody said, behind me. Well, the good thing is, I always went into it too, Joe, but I always had a great advantage because I knew the wind was going to be a problem. So my expectations were lowered, and every other quarterback would come in there, including you, would go, well, it's not going to bother me. I can throw through the wind. Well, yeah, okay, good luck on that.
That is a very viable explanation.
Yes, it is. But here's another one.
Crock of baloney, but I think it's a very viable explanation.
All right, man. You're going to start countering everything I say. Matt, the other thing is he hated playing at Giant Stadium because all he did was cry and moan because it had a big crown from sideline to say it was big. He goes, this crown, I can't throw these sideline routes. And you would jinx yourself before you even got to the stadium.
18-inch crown. It was like you were either running uphill or downhill. And keep in mind, remember, I had two receivers, Alvin Garrett and Virgil Day. Virgil was 5'9" and Alvin was 5'8". So here I am throwing out routes to guys that are 4 feet tall. Okay. I mean, they're quick, they're good, but they're only 4 feet tall. So
my gosh. Okay. All right. So, all right, here we go. Listen. All right, Joe, that was great. Hey, listen, how old are you now? Tell me how old you are.
I just turned 70. What did I turn? 75? Yeah.
Wow, you had to think of that? Okay.
I did. I'm not sure. 75, 76. I don't know. I don't feel it. I don't feel like I'm that old.
You look great.
Feel great. Feel good. Thank you. And I think I just turned 75 years old.
All right. Good for you, man. Good. All right. Let's get it started, Big Matt. I know you. Him and I would go through this. We could do an hour just
an hour would just get warmed up, Phil.
Yeah,
really. I mean, we go back to our days at ESPN together, and we used to have to get to the studio 2 hours before so that we could tell each other's stories before they got us on the air for the half hour we did or whatever.
Oh God, it was great though. I did enjoy that once I learned a little bit about TV, so it was fun. It really was.
Yeah, it's a great time.
All right. Well, we got a lot to talk about here, really. I know I talked to you the other day, asked you to come on. You said you'd love to, so I appreciate that. Matt appreciates it. And I said, so what were you doing today? Can I say what you were doing?
Oh, I was getting my hair colored.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm not embarrassed to say that I try and keep it that way. And then it's just it's the way it is.
That's sure. It's great, man. Good for you. You look good. So don't apologize. That's a good thing. All right, here we go. Go, Matt. Let me hear what you got to say.
All right. Yeah, I don't even know where to start after. I could listen to you guys go all day on this stuff right now, but for just to kind of go back, right, and educate some of our viewers, you're a Jersey guy. You go to South River High School. Your high school teammates, though, with Drew Pearson. I mean, how dominant were you two as a duo in basketball, baseball, and football in high school?
It was really great because we all sort of grew up together through Pop Warner, through high school together. And, Drew was my wide receiver in high school. And when I graduated, he became the quarterback there. But matter of fact, the first pass he caught was like a 62-yard touchdown pass. He just ran a post and just outran everybody. We were undefeated in that season. As a matter of fact, I think we shut out at least maybe 5 or 6 opponents. But Drew it's really funny. We did a thing up at South River, and he got a street named after him. And this year they named one after me this past year. And so we were together talking about it. We were out on the field, and the way he ran as a Dallas Cowboy was exactly the same way he ran when he was in high school. Now, I didn't see him play at Tulsa, but to see him run as a high school guy, because they had some film, and then again to turn around and see him be able to go out and do it with the Dallas Cowboys, he had the same gait, that same fluid movement, and just it was silky. I mean, that's the best way to describe him, was just very silky when he ran with the football. And one of my dear friends, and just an incredible guy. And every conversation you have with him, he ends it with "hut hut." What was that? I don't know where it came from, but when you talk to him, that's going to be the last thing you're going to hear is "hut hut."
I like it.
But we were a bunch of guys that really played together a long time. Like I said, most of us played from like we were 12 years old until we were 17, 18 years old. By the time we became seniors in high school, we'd played 5-6 years together.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Joe, you've had such a great career in many, many ways. And I know you're still out there working. I talk to you every now and then. You just go, "Yeah, I'm traveling here. I got to do this, got to do that." And I'm like, it's Matt. It's just like that. Yeah, I'm going here and I got to go there. And call me later. Like, oh God, okay, Joe, nothing's changed. You still got the same energy. But I think of going back, just the fact that you came on this, and let me read a little bit about you and everything. And man, you had your career is even so much better than I remember it. I remember I was telling Matt this. I'd go to church early every Sunday so I could get home in time to watch that half-hour Notre Dame show. Were you part of that too during your?
Yeah, I was. We used to go on Sunday mornings. Well, first of all, I just got in from Fort Myers. I did a Pent Summit leadership conference yesterday.
Yeah.
So
okay,
just to keep the theme going, Phil.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to go to a friend's house. A bunch of us used to go over, lay around in the living room floor on Sunday morning and watch Lindsey Nelson. Do a rerun of the game. It was an hour. Our game was condensed to an hour.
Right.
And Lindsey would talk. It was really funny. He'd go, "And now let's move to further action in the third quarter."
What I tell you, man?
Notre Dame's 50 or 49-yard line. I mean, it was, we used to go there and watch the games and sort of, I guess we never self-scouted ourselves, but it was an enjoyable time to relax. And again, I've been very blessed to play with incredible people, for incredible people. Certainly, the success that I've been able to enjoy is not just my success, it's the success of everybody around us. And Phil, you know this so very well. Matt, you too. The quarterback position is the single most dependent position on the field. You can't win if you don't have one, but if you do have one and you don't get the support around that position, you're still going to struggle.
No doubt.
It's definitely something that we have discussed multiple times on the show throughout the season and even last season too. Your time at Notre Dame, overall record 23-2. You had some phenomenal matchups in the Cotton Bowl against the Texas Longhorns.
Yep.
I just wanted to ask you, who was the best football player you played against in college?
Best football player I played against in college. I played against Tommy Casanova when he was at LSU. He was a heck of a safety.
Right.
Rock Berdoni was another one. It was just a short. They weren't a big team, but boy, they were so quick and all over the place. LSU. Of course, played against O.J. Simpson when he was at USC.
Right.
Against those teams.
Is that the game where you threw for 500 yards and you still ended up losing the game somehow?
Yeah, we lost that one in 1970 when we played in the Coliseum. It was, as a matter of fact, little footnote to that game. It was a torrential downpour.
Right.
And the offensive line coach at the University of Southern California happened to be a guy by the name of Joe Gibbs.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
So their quarterback comes to the sidelines and he says to Coach Gibbs, he says, I can't hold the football. I can't grip the football. Joe points out and he says, well, he's not having a problem with it. And so many years go by. And I've always, I don't know, Phil, it's the way the ball was gripped by us. I mean, to me, if you grip it too tight, like Troy Aikman had a heck of a time throwing a wet ball because he grabbed it tight.
Yeah.
And it squirted out of his hand. It has to be just enough pressure. It's like a golf club, just enough pressure so that you can do what you need to do. And so Coach came to me many years later. He said, I want you to teach my grandson how to throw a wet football. And what I used to do is I used to literally, on dry days, if I thought there was going to be rain that weekend, I'd bring a bucket out to practice. And I'd dip some balls in the bucket and I'd get used to just handling a wet football.
Right.
Yeah, you know, Matt and I talk about this too, and Matt caught the edge of it in his career. Joe, you could throw the NFL football right now probably better than you did in your whole career because they are incredible. They grip so easy. Yeah. They're so easy to throw. It's truly ridiculous. And Matt and I talk about it all. Matt trains a lot of quarterbacks, and they'll forget their football, and they're in high school. He'll give them a pro football. And hell, they throw that a lot better than they do the hye school ball.
Heck yeah, well, like the NBA, the seams in the NBA balls are bigger than they are in college balls.
Oh, no kidding.
When you get to the professional level, it's the equipment really gives you a little bit of an advantage unless you're a kicker. Remember a number of years back, they felt like the kickers were making too many long kicks. So they decided to create, quote unquote, the kicking ball.
Yes.
Right.
Well, now they're only kicking 66-yard field goals.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like no matter what obstacle is presented to professional athletes, they seem to be able to overcome them and then exceed whatever limitations they thought they'd place on them.
Yeah, change the rules. The football used to be orange, now it's black.
Right.
They put so much mud on it and everything else, but you know, good for them. That's what you want the league. You want quarterbacks in the game is better when they're throwing it really well because it's more fun and exciting to the fans.
Oh, absolutely. Our game has become so wide open. It's the old AFL. For those of you that are old enough to remember the AFL, or if you're young enough, go Google, the Lenny Dawsons and the John Hadels and, all those guys that threw the ball around way back when. That's what the AFL was. I mean, there was a great contrast between the NFL, the NFC, which it became, and the AFL was that the AFL would just throw it all over the place. The Raiders, the Chiefs, the Chargers. Yeah. And of course, then you had New York and Philadelphia, and those were the teams that ran the ball a lot, played great defense. So there were two contrasting styles. Now it's wide open football.
Yeah. I just want to throw all the screens. That's all. But hey, let's get to it. I wanted to talk to you, and Matt. We both talked about this. You got some weekend ahead of you. First, everybody, you went to Notre Dame. You had a great career, the winning record. You were the runner-up in the Heisman Trophy race to Jim Plunkett. As soon as I remembered you being, I said, it has to be Jim Plunkett because I knew he was about the same age. And Big Jim could throw that damn thing too.
Oh, he sure could.
Give us a little bit your relationship now with Notre Dame, the football team, and maybe a quick thought about what you think about the game coming on Monday night.
Before I do that, you talk about having a heck of a week. In November, the Toronto Argonauts, whom I played for, won the Grey Cup this year.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes, we know.
Notre Dame's playing for a national championship. Washington's moved on to the second round of the playoffs. And I just got a text from a buddy of mine yesterday. I had a horse running at a park, and the horse won. The horse's name is Theismann. I said, you got to be kidding me. So, I mean, I'm having like the most incredible week of my life.
Damn, you are.
But I love my relationship at the University of Notre Dame. They've been wonderful to me. I've sat and talked to Marcus on a number of occasions. Haven't really had a chance to sit with Al Golden, but what a job he's done with our defense. And Mike Denbrook coming in. What people don't realize is you look at the Notre Dame football team, Riley Leonard was hurt against Notre Dame a year ago when he was at Duke.
Right.
Didn't get any spring practice, didn't get any work at the quarterback position really till almost the season started.
Mm.
And now you watch him play in the first game at A&M, and then you turn around and watch him play now. He's an entirely different quarterback. He's had the time to work on his game. He throws the ball more effectively than he had a chance to before. He's fully healthy. And I'm excited about what this football team has done. You know, we all talk about identities in football. The Notre Dame identity is we're going to play great run defense and we're going to run the football. That's what it was up to about a couple of weeks ago. Now we're going to play great defense. We're going to run the football, but don't sit on us and don't think that we can't throw. Mm-hmm. And that's where they've developed. But I mean, the students are excited. The university is excited. I get on these different threads with teammates of mine and Notre Dame fans, and it's an exciting time. And you could literally spend hours just talking about the game and what the future is going to be and where they're going to go. And Ohio State is not an easy out. It's probably the most complete team that Notre Dame will play for the national championship. Georgia made mistakes. Penn State made mistakes. We capitalized on them. You can only hope Ohio State makes some mistakes as well.
What has impressed you most about Marcus Freeman and just how he carries himself only 3 years now into being a head coach, but just the progress that he's made each and every year and now being in the national championship finals?
We talk about this one word, Matt, all the time, culture. He's created a culture and an expectation there. Bill Belichick's a dear friend. Phil, of course, you know him well.
Right.
I talked to Bill and I observe his football teams. And to me, I think you create an environment and then you have an expectation. So what Marcus has done is he's created an environment at the University of Notre Dame. It's an environment of toughness. It's an environment of discipline. And keep in mind that coaches only are allowed in the college ranks, you can correct me if I'm wrong, only 20 hours a week with the players. It's not like the NFL. I mean, for us, that's a day and a half.
Yeah.
So as far as, but Marcus he's honest with the guys. All you need to do is look at when the day he was announced as the head coach, they were in the locker room at the stadium.
Yeah.
Brian had left for LSU. Coach Freeman was announced as the head coach, and the players went nuts. That's how much they loved him. That's how much they respected him. And that has just continued to grow. He's a great Notre Dame man. We've given him an extension. And I think, it's a great move by the university. And I think it's a great move for him. The hardest thing we can find in college football today is any consistency.
Right.
They've got to do something with the portal. Shoot, Penn State's backup quarterback couldn't play in the game against Notre Dame because he'd already committed to a move through the portal.
Right.
That's bad for college football. When you've got players, you're in a championship situation, you're going to play in a bowl game, and all of a sudden you say, nope, I'm not going. I'm not going to go. I'm going someplace else. Why are you there? I guess I have to ask the young kid, why, obviously you're chasing the money. Okay, I understand that. But I just think there needs to be a fix to particularly the portal.
It is interesting, though. Yeah. They will. I mean, they have to make these changes and amendments here in the next few years, especially to the playoffs, the portal, and how the whole offseason goes for these teams. But what's interesting, too, and something that you bring up, and I think Notre Dame is in a really interesting position with this modern college football world because you're still Notre Dame. You still go to the school for things bigger than NIL for the most part, to be a part of that culture, to be a part of that school and its rich history. So it is an interesting time for Notre Dame. The fact that it seems like although the rules are very it's difficult for a lot of these college coaches to build consistently. But for Marcus Freeman, he has program guys with just like a sprinkle of these transfer portal guys, right. But the rest of it is mainly guys that they have recruited. So I think that is the one thing that Notre Dame has going in favor for them than other schools.
And we're homegrown.
Right.
I mean, basically we're homegrown. And that's a hard thing to do in this day and age. What I found, speaking of college football, what I found interesting is Nick Saban basically left the game of college football. And I think a lot of it had to do with the NIL and from the things that he said. I mean, it was just, it was going in a different direction than he coached. And then all of a sudden you get one of the greatest coaches in the history of professional football, Bill Belichick, going to the University of North Carolina to coach at the college level. And both Nick and Bill are very close.
Right.
Very.
I love the thing on HBO with those two sitting down and talking X's. I mean, Phil and I, we could sit and talk X's and O's all day, just like they do. And I find it extremely interesting. And I really enjoyed the show that he's done to be able to explain his philosophy, his concept, and what he sees. But I think that you're right, Matt. The college landscape has got to be changed. One thing about the college playoffs, I think if you have the best record, then you ought to get a bye. Just because you're in a conference and you win the conference shouldn't necessarily mean that you get a bye. Interestingly enough, all 4 teams that got byes lost.
Right.
So, I'm sure they'll figure it out. But for the first year, heck, I'm as excited as can be because we're playing for a national championship.
Yeah, you should be. How about you? Are you gonna find a way to get to the game, or are you just gonna sit home? Oh, you are.
Oh yeah, planning on going.
Yeah, well, good for you. When will you head down there?
I'm going to head down on Sunday. Going in early.
All right. So what's your pregame ritual? I mean, what does Joe Theismann do right before Notre Dame games to make sure that he's prepped and ready to go?
Shakes those hands where the money comes from. But go ahead, Joe. How you doing? Oh no, Joe, you're not playing anymore. You don't get the cash.
No, I walk a lot. I walk around a lot. I walk around the living room. I walk around the kitchen. It depended. Robin, my wife, and I sit there and she gets on a couch. I get on a couch. I get in a chair. I'm up and down. I'm moving around. About an hour before. Phil's not laughing because he knows that's what I do anyway.
Yeah.
But I get nervous. And I don't know if you feel this way, but when I watch Notre Dame and I watch the Commanders play, and I get much more nervous from watching it than when I played. Right. Yeah, I loved big games. I love playing the Cowboys. I love playing NFC championship games. Love playing this. I felt very relaxed in that environment. Now I'm a nervous wreck. I am. Well, I'm going to go get something to drink, and I sit down. Oh, geez, I got to go get something to eat. All right, now is this pillow okay? I'm gonna lay down on the couch and watch the game. No, I'm gonna go back and sit in my lucky chair. Well, no, the cushion's too bad on my back. I'm gonna move over to the other chair. Well, maybe if I go with 2 cushions. I'm nuts. Okay, I'll just admit it. I just go absolutely crazy. And
so you have a lucky chair though. So there's a chair that you deemed as the lucky Irish chair.
I do, and it's funny. I read the books of Don Quixote.
Yeah.
And they talk about the energy somewhere if anybody watching this, if you go in a particular room and move around from place to place in that room, you will find one spot in that room. I'm starting to sound like Aaron Rodgers now. You're going to find one spot in the room, okay, where you'll feel a different energy.
Right.
It's just, it's crazy. There's so many things that we can't control that are so neat to experience.
Right. And are you yelling at the television trying to coach the team through the situation, or saying, hey, call a timeout here, punt the football, do this, go for it? Are you yelling, or are you somewhat quiet with all your pacing?
No, I'm not quiet, Matt. I'm not quiet. Not at all. No. Phil's laughing. I know he's laughing as hard as he's ever laughed. Joe Theismann being quiet. No, son, that's not the kind of question you want to ask him. But the thing that drives me crazy, and I don't know if you feel the same way, I watch college coaches abuse timeouts like nobody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 5 minutes into the first quarter. You're looking at a delay of game. By the way, shorten the calls going in and you won't have the delay of games.
Right.
And all of a sudden they call it timeout. Timeouts are valuable. You want them at the end of a half. You want them at the end of a game. They're gold. To me, when you look at the game of football, timeouts are just little pieces of gold that if you can save them at the right moments, it determines the outcome of whether you win or lose.
It's a great point.
Really is.
Big Phil, you're muted. I don't know what happened to you over there. You muted yourself. You probably pressed the button on your mic, you amateur. But all right, we'll keep talking. Is
that the goat? Did the goat mute himself?
No, we still get. That's right. Man,
you're working now.
What an amateur.
No, I'm a pro, bitch.
Yeah.
I guess we should start recording again.
Yeah, Lindsay already did.
Okay. Hey, I want to ask Joe, you know why you're more nervous when you watch the games on TV now? Because you have no control over it. I don't care where you stand in that room.
You're absolutely right.
When you're the player and you're the guy, you're right. You feel like you a lot of control of the game. Of course, you do as a quarterback. So yeah,
And then we ask ourselves the question, when you watch it, why? Why? It's like there's at the quarterback position, there are certain cardinal rules that you have to adhere to if you want to give your team a chance to win.
Right.
Number one is don't throw an interception on 1st and 10. If it looks like the guy is covered, throw it someplace else, throw it in the ground, go to 2nd down. That's rule number one. Rule number two, if you're in the area, say your kicker has a great leg and can kick 50-yarders. If you're in a position where you can put points on the board, don't take a sack. Right. We saw that the other night with Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I mean, I was screaming and yelling at that game. No particular interest in it, just watching them play. But I'm thinking, I love to watch somebody play our position and just see how they play it. This is the thing I love about Jayden Daniels, just as a sidebar here, is his football intellect.
Right.
He understands down and distance. He understands when to get out of bounds. He understands how to protect himself. He understands how to protect the football. He has all those innate abilities to be able to play the position, not only with his athleticism, but also with his intellect. Right. And there are a lot of guys, I don't care whether you played 10 years, 15 years, or 1 year in this league. I see a lot of guys that don't do it as well as he does.
Yeah.
He has great experience, and he can apply all that experience to the game at all levels. He did it at Arizona State.
Right.
He did it, of course, at LSU. LSU was a great, Matt, you and I talked about it many times.
Yeah.
What a great experience. They threw the damn ball almost every down, and if they recovered, he ran.
Look who they were throwing to.
2 years.
Look who they were throwing to.
Oh, I know. That's the other thing. Yeah, it was great.
Wow.
Yeah, they were in your receiving core.
Yeah.
They would have helped with that crown. And I want to get your thoughts too. So, of course, you're yelling at the TV with Riley Leonard and how he was playing early on in that Penn State football game with the 2 interceptions. But you had to have been proud by the way that he responded to those and coming up clutch in some of those big time situations late in the football game.
I was yelling at Riley to go. Right. The second interception, that guy's like 6'5", it's like throwing over a building.
Yeah, Dennis Sutton.
Most quarterbacks you see at the college level throw the ball a little too flat. Mm-hmm. And when you see guys come out of the college game into the pro game, you notice that you'll see a corner underneath or a linebacker dropping a little deeper, wind up picking them off a little bit. They have to learn to put a little more air on the ball. Now, this is one of the things that I've taught. As a matter of fact, here in Washington, I created that 5-yard dotted line in from the sidelines. I had them put it on the practice field because I didn't want my wide receivers pushed to the boundaries where if you're going to try and complete a pass, you throw it out of bounds.
Right.
And I see so many deep throws in college football where the receiver has absolutely no chance whatsoever at getting his hands on a ball because it falls out of bounds. If you put the ball in play with an arc, a la Russell Wilson, you're going to get PIs, you're going to get catches, you're going to get defensive holding. You can protect the ball from being intercepted, but you have to give your people a chance to be able to make a play. And so in '82, I sort of created that line so that I had a place to drop the football. Yeah. And the best thing I probably threw in as a pro was fades.
Right.
Those were the things that I probably threw best of all the things I had a chance to be able to be a part of our offense.
Hey, tell me this, Joe. One, it's great you're around the Commanders enough, so you've got to know Jayden Daniels and everything. But kind of go into about him, but just about the quarterback position in pro football now. And I'm sure you sit back sometimes because of the way you played. You go, damn, I'd like to play in today's game.
Sure.
Probably fits you better than the old game did.
We both would. I mean, I'm all for protecting players, period. Right. I'm all for protecting quarterbacks specifically. But you have to reach a point where pushing a quarterback to the ground is not roughing the quarterback. It's part of it's part of the game of football. And then the other thing too is, and Parcells used to talk about this, Phil, all the time. Not only do you study an opponent, but you study the officials.
Oh, yeah.
What are they going to call? I mean, let's say from a defensive back standpoint, when they call it nuzzling or you're bumping the guy down the field, are they going to call a pass interference penalty? Are they going to call holding? Or do you get a chance to grip and grab a little bit more? It's the same thing with quarterbacks. I see a quarterback push to the ground. I don't see a flag. Then all of a sudden I watch another game and I see a flag. And to me, that's not roughing. It's an interesting concept in football. The most vulnerable player in all of professional football, in all of football, is the punter, because he's got his leg in the air, his feet are off the ground, and he's just exposed to anybody hitting him. They have 2 degrees of penalties regarding protection of a punter: roughing and running into. I have no problem if you want to protect the quarterback, which you consider roughing. If he gets pushed to the ground, 5-yard penalty, not an automatic first down. Why not? And first of all, they'll never do it. We know that. We absolutely know that that'll never happen.
Right.
But I find it some of the inconsistencies that we've seen. There's one other thing that I hope the competition committee sits down and takes a long, hard look at. And Bill has, wanted to get this done for a long time, Belichick. You should have the ability to review or challenge, I should say, every play in football. How many face masks have we seen this year that have not been called?
Right.
Yeah. What's the big deal about taking away the menu and basically saying every play can be reviewed? You only have two challenges. Yeah. We're not going to slow the game down. We're not giving you another challenge. You have 2 challenges. That's it. If you use them up, you use them up. But I think the fans deserve the game to be called in a right way. Hey, listen, I respect officials. Things are moving so fast. Sometimes you miss stuff. But we have the technology available. Why not use it?
Right.
That's simple.
I think I can tell you why.
Why? Money,
time on TV, got to get to commercials, got to get to the next game, all the other things. They don't want to slow the game down at all.
But see, Phil, this is my point. You're not slowing the game down. You only have 2 challenges.
Yeah, I know. That's why they keep it that way.
But I'm saying I don't want any more challenges.
Yeah,
I just want to be able to challenge every play.
Yeah, I got you.
The game, the speed of the game will not change one bit.
Yeah.
Not one bit whatsoever. The economics won't change. But I think from a fan's perspective, maybe they'll take away some of the banter that we hear from everybody in the media on Mondays, but they'll be able to correct things that we see egregious. I mean, take the Minnesota Viking game when Sam Darnold, the last one they played, when he got his face mask pulled.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, I just think I love to look at, I love our game so much. And how can we make it better for the fan? How better for the fan experience? I think that could be one way.
Yeah. Big picture, Dan Quinn, first-year head coach for the Commanders, and just what he has done for this organization. Obviously, new ownership coming in along with him. Does he remind you a lot of Marcus Freeman with the fact that he's been heavy with the word culture and just how he runs the team?
I was just going to say that, Matt. Yeah, he has. I think he's and he and Adam have worked together. Adam Peters, our GM. If you take a look at the compilation of this football team, you have veterans like Bobby Wagner and Chin, right. And then you've got Jayden Daniels, and then you've got that stable, one of the best receivers in football who never gets acknowledged that way is Terry McLaurin.
Right.
You look at the different players. You bring in Ertz, you bring in an Austin Eckler. You add certain elements. I mean, the people that they have brought in have been excellent influencers on this football team to the young people. So the culture comes from the players. I mean, the coach instills it, but the players have to carry it out. I mean, you had that in New York, Phil. I mean, Bill had a way of doing things.
Right. Yeah.
And I know you and he would have, I wish they'd put together a video, just a half-hour show, Phil Simms versus Bill Parcells. Okay. I think that dialogue is probably worth billions. It's a lot of fun to watch.
I'll do this real quick. I'll give you just one easy one.
Okay.
Forget all the ones you see. One day we're at practice. He's just Simms, effing Simms. Well, yeah. He's just on and on. I'm like, well, I'm practicing well, whatever. And finally I turned to him. I go, I'm going to clean it up. Will you just shut up? And I said, I'm so sick and tired of hearing you cry and moan about everything. And Rodney goes, "Ooh, Sims is mad at me." Ooh. And I'm like, looking at him. I said, "Man, there's something wrong with you." And he goes, "Sims, do you want to try to hit me? Is that what you want to do?" And I just go, get away, And he had a way of turning things around.
Yep.
And of course, he had a way of not undressing, but being really extremely firm. And it just was, and he did it to Lawrence Taylor. Of course, he did it to me, but he only did it to like 5 guys on the team. But he would get Lawrence a couple times a year. So even Lawrence Taylor didn't get the free pass.
He wasn't immune from Bill's quote unquote wrath.
Oh, no, not at all.
The thing that I appreciate about Bill so much is obviously when you're in broadcast, you get a chance to visit. I remember we were doing a Cowboy game when he was down there, and one of the things that he insisted on was when you parked your cars, you parked it between the white lines. Didn't want the tires on the white lines. And so, you ask yourself, what the heck does that have to do with winning football games? And the answer was simple. It's discipline.
Right.
And it's just, there's simple little ways to create discipline in your life and in your environment. And this was one way that Bill did it. Hey, if your tires are on the white, go get your keys, move it and get it parked right. It's all about disciplines. And I think those are the little things. We know that the little things win and lose football games.
No doubt.
Not the big things.
Give us a little anecdote from Coach Gibbs and how he was in leading the football team.
Oh, Joe was I was his first quarterback. I was his first, opportunity to have somebody who was crazy. As Phil talked about, I had things going on in Washington. I had things that I'd get involved in. And so we start the season 0-5.
That's right.
In 1981, he takes over, and I'm not his quarterback.
Right.
Matter of fact, I don't think he wants me. And just again, a little side. If you're not the coach that's coming in's quarterback, you have to work harder to impress him,
right? So
that he doesn't automatically develop an opinion about you that isn't right.
Right.
That doesn't give you the chance to compete. So we lose to San Francisco. We're 0-5, and my job is important to me. So I get home from the game, and Joe slept at Redskin Park Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights. By the time the game was over on Sunday, he was flat exhausted.
Right.
So we lose the game. I want to keep my job. I heard that he was either going to bench me or trade me. I heard he was going to trade me. So I drive to his house after the game, and I knock on the door, and his eyes are bleary, and he comes to the door, and I said, "Coach, we need to talk." And I sit down with him. We sit in the den. And I said, "Coach, I want to be your quarterback." He says, "Joe, you've got restaurants, you've got TV shows, you got all this stuff going on. I want somebody who's just going to be my quarterback. I don't want somebody that has all this other stuff going on." I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll get rid of everything. I just want to be your quarterback, but give me a chance first. Just give me a chance." So we sort of cleared the air. From that day forward, we went 8-3, 12-1, won a world championship. 16-3, went back to the Super Bowl. 11-5, won the division. And that was a conversation that we had. The other one that is one of the best, as far as I'm concerned, was my 1-yard punt.
I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to ask you about it.
I mean, I hope this is a 2-hour podcast because I love it. So we're playing the Bears, third game of the season, Soldiers Field. All right. We have a 10-point lead on the Chicago Bears. We kicked the ball away from Willie Gault 3 times. Fastest man in football. We're going to kick it away from Willie. Now we decide to kick it to Willie. He catches the ball. I'm standing on the sidelines. I'm watching Willie run. I'm going, "Whoa, look at Willie run. Whoa, look at Willie run." Oh, he's in our end zone. Touchdown. Scores 10-7. But Jeff Hayes, who was our punter, he's also our kickoff guy, tears a thigh muscle. We don't have a punter.
Oh, that's
Coach
right.
Gibbs is standing on the sidelines. Look, what am I going to do? I said, "Hey, Coach, you looking for a punter?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "I can punt." He says, "You can what?" I said, "I can punt. How hard can it be? You drop the ball, bang, gone, no problem." So he says, "Fine. Next time we punt, you punt." I go running on the field. We get the ball on the 13-yard line, run a running play, gain 2 yards, 2nd down and 8 from the 15. He's signaling in the pants, and I'm thinking, chances are I'm not going to complete this because I got a personal relationship with the punter. So I throw the ball into the stands. 3rd and 8, wants me to throw again. Still have that relationship with the punter. Bounce this one into the ground. 4th and 8, guess we have to punt. Offense runs off the field. Kicking team runs on. My teammates are going, "Hey, Joe, kick it right, kick it right." I'm going, "Man, just get it back here. I got no problem whatsoever." I'm standing on the goal line in Soldiers Field, balls at a 15-yard line. First thought that went through my mind was Danny White was the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. He was also their punter. If Danny could do it, I could do it.
Right.
So I call for the snap, ball hits my hand, and my whole world goes into slow motion. The roar of the crowd is this muffled, and all I'm thinking about is what my teammate said, to kick the ball right. So I'm thinking, kick the ball right. Drop the ball, raise my foot. Pow, it goes flying off my foot. Hung in the air, went 16 yards.
Oh, it did. Okay.
I wound up with a net yard 1 average. At that time, I held the record in the National Football League for the shortest punt in the history of the game. And coincidentally, Mr. New York Giant, the guy that they claim holds the record is Sean Landetta.
Right.
Oh, really?
The same place in Soldiers Field where I tried my kick, I contend he never touched the ball. So I am the worst punter in the history of professional football. I refuse to give up that crown.
The wind definitely moved the football when Sean was kicking it.
Yeah, he missed it.
Yeah, the wind was like 40 miles an hour that day.
He missed it. I know.
He did. He missed it.
He missed it flat out, and they credit him with a -6 yards. It's just not right. Let's just start right in this.
No, that's your record. That is your record, Joe.
So, okay, I want to get to this so this weekend, Sunday's the first big game you got. Is it Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday night.
Well, give us a little bit. I want to hear a little bit more about Jayden Daniels. How and the modern what we talked about a little bit, but what do you think they got to do to win the game this weekend?
I think first of all, I don't think Cliff's going to deviate too much from what he's done. Jayden will have to be able to run the football. I think we're going to try and want to run the football, which we did really against Tampa, even though you didn't get a lot of yards, but at least you kept them honest to a degree.
Right.
I think Detroit's defense is not as dynamic as their offense, that there's opportunities to be able to make plays in the secondary, but you're going to have to be able to control it. And then I would expect that Detroit's going to try and defend Jayden on 4th down. Obviously, spies don't necessarily get it done because the guys can block it up pretty well. But I think for us, time of possession is going to be critical. If I look at this football game and the time of possession is equal, it's going to be tough for, I think, Washington to win. I think if we can control to a degree time of possession and keep their offense off the field, it gives us a better chance to win. And then, Phil, you know this. It boils down to kicks. The closer you get to a championship, the more the games have value. It boils down to who's going to be making field goals. I don't think Washington can get in the red zone like they have before and come away with field goals. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to have to put touchdowns on the board, and you're going to have to get those 7 points up there. And Gonzalez is the 6th kicker that Washington has had, and he's delivered big in these last couple of games. And so you hope that can continue. And we had the same situation with Mitch Jeter with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
He was like 50%. And then all of a sudden now against Georgia and Penn State, he's played well. But I think controlling the ball is going to be key for Washington in this one. Because they've got horses everywhere on offense.
Yeah, they do.
It's a great point. And, Aaron Glenn's going to run a lot of man coverage in this matchup. So, precision passing by Jayden, what he's been doing all year. So I think the biggest thing is how does your young quarterback adapt to playing in that type of environment, especially with that crowd noise up there in Detroit?
Yeah, I don't think he's unflappable. I don't think it bothers him. There
was one play though earlier in the year where they were playing against the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was trying to use his snap count, like his verbal snap count.
Right.
And the offensive line couldn't hear him, and they had that weird exchange. And then it was one of the key plays of the game where he essentially lost like 2 or 3 yards because of that issue at the line of scrimmage. So that's just something that I hope that they have remedied since that game.
They reference it. We see the guards now sort of flashing their arms.
Right.
To me, I think that's a distinct advantage to the defense. When you got an offensive lineman next to the center flashing his arm and the ball snapped right away, defenses get into a rhythm.
No doubt.
And so they have to vary that up. Maybe you flash it once and you don't snap it, and then you do it again. They almost become visual snap counts as opposed to verbal snap counts.
Right.
But it's a great point. And, I think it's a tough – if you're on the road like that, and Phil, we've been through this, it's tough to go hard counts because nobody can hear you. And the other thing is, too, is you've got to remind your wide receivers, just watch the ball.
Right.
Even if you're a little bit late off the ball, just watch it. Those are the most egregious penalties, and they come at the worst times, is when you're first and 10 and all of a sudden a wide receiver moves too early. Now all of a sudden it's 1st and 15. Well, now you're behind the chains, and that's not a place you want to be, especially on the road.
Yeah. And
It's going to be a really interesting game. I'm excited to see it for sure.
Too.
I think the Commanders are just even if you don't think they're a great team or whatever, they're a pain in your rear end. Just the way they play, how they seem to have answers to every big moment.
Yeah, I think they're a scary team to play. I think, we become just like Notre Dame, I think in the playoffs, to me, was a scary team to play because you know what you're getting, but you're also getting that late, never-ending rush where they, pull it out. And then with the Commanders, they're so used to winning. Their last 5 games have been down to the wire. I mean, this team is tempered. You better play 60 minutes of football. And, obviously – you can't get down in games like this, down by 17 points. We saw it the other night, with Minnesota. You can't spot people that many points and hope to be able to, especially on the road. Right. Especially to be able to come back and win.
Well, it's a good Joe Theismann punting game because both coaches go for it on 4th down every single time.
So I'd stand on the sidelines.
This would be a great way for you to,
Wouldn't have to buy a ticket, just stand there and watch.
Just hang out.
Both coaches are very similar. They're similar in, I think, their personality, the culture that they wanted to create.
Right.
The years, Dan did it in Atlanta, got to a Super Bowl, and that's what, Dan Quinn has done it, and that's what Dan Campbell wants to do. I think he's done a terrific job up there. I mean, it's funny when you look at Dan Campbell, it's almost like his face should be chiseled on Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's that kind of a stern look. It's like, I just don't want to piss him off. I got to be honest with you. I just, and yet he says all the right things when I hear it in the locker room and you listen to him talk about this football team, and he believes in them and they believe in him. Yeah. There's a lot of coaches in the National Football League that can't get their players to believe in them as the guy, not the philosophy, not the concept, but if they believe in you, then you can set the culture. Right. And I think that's with both of these football teams, that's what you see.
You say things about Dan Campbell, and it's his emotion, his being so truthful as he talks to players. I'm sure he doesn't, he can tell guys, look, you're not playing really well. I'm going to keep you, he can tell them things and they accept it. But it's the speeches after the game, which, man, I watch them and they're so emotional. Gosh. Yeah.
Well, our game, Phil, our game's emotional. I mean, you're coming down to the wire now.
Yeah.
This is why you went to camp. This is why you had spring training. This is why you had training camp. This is why you played 17 football games. This is why when you were hurt, you still went out there and played. This is the kind of dedication that you have to have, and so now you get so close. I remember, after we beat Miami in the Super Bowl. Real quick story. Are there really quick stories? So we beat Miami in the Super Bowl, and I'm sitting on the beach on Thursday afternoon. I'm at the Pro Bowl. We beat Miami. I'm at the Pro Bowl. Bob Baumhauer's there from the Dolphins, right. And we're sitting down, just having a Mai Tai, visiting a little bit. So I asked Bob, I said, I feel terrible asking this question, but I have to understand, what's it like to lose a Super Bowl? Mm. Well, he didn't hit me with a coconut. I can just tell you that. Okay? But he didn't. He said, Joe, it's absolutely the worst possible feeling you could have.
Right.
And my response to him was, God, I hope I never experienced that. A year later, I experienced it. And he's right. Because, you get down to a point, Phil, it's like being in the final group in a tournament where you're on the range and you look around and there's only 1 or 2 other people. There's not a bunch of people. Nobody else is playing but you. You're playing for all the marbles. In a football game, what I loved when we went to the Super Bowls is I thought there's only 2 teams that are practicing right now.
Yeah.
I'm working and there's only and I'm one of 2 teams. I'm part of one of 2 teams that's actually working right now. And this is absolutely great. And so that was the way I looked at it. And so, you're within a game, 2 games of a championship and a game of getting there. These games have significance, and to hear the emotion, like you said, from the coaches,
great.
It's incredible. I mean, but there's going to be great. They call it the best weekend in football, professional football.
Yeah,
I agree. I think
great.
there's great matchups.
Matt, I won't get into details, but when I always read everything when I played as far as the experiences people had. So I read all of Joe's experiences and big games and Super Bowls.
Huh.
And I just remember reading it going, I'm so glad I read that because I'm never going to forget it. And it really helped me, just to block it out, not think, and just play. And, when it's over, did we win or whatever? I'm condensing it way too much, but it was really, and I bring it up all the time about, probably Super Bowl week. I bring up some of those points because they're really important. I think more than anybody, it's more important to the quarterback than even the coaches.
Mm-hmm. And then we could, the thing is having played the same position, and competed the way we did. I appreciate that. Very kind of you, Phil. And if you want to get some more of Joe Theismann stuff, go read the book, How to Be a Champion Every Day by Joe Theismann, available on Amazon and other places. But
is it my coach would say, hey, Theismann, how much money do you need?
Is there a limit?
We got to get Jayden Daniels.
This way. Let me ask Elon Musk that question. Okay. Yeah.
We got to get Jayden Daniels, though, reading your book on the sideline during the game this weekend. So then the sales will go through the roof. This is another
hour. Phil and I talked about this a little bit. You know what? If you're not, and I think AJ, he was sending a message to basically the coaches. Hey, look, if you're not going to throw me the football, I'll just sit here and do something else. Right. Receivers have sort of always been those, George Pickens throwing his helmet around. And they've always been those little debutantes, I guess you could say, out there just throwing little fits and stuff like that. But if you're not catching the football, and I don't think this is old school mentality. I think it's just being part of a team. If you're not catching the football, go find a way to make a great block for Saquon so he can score a touchdown.
There you go.
Right.
I mean, that to me, to show the world that you're disinterested, and then the coach comes out and says, well, he's read books before. I've never seen a picture of him on a bench reading a book before. Have you?
No.
I think it's the first time I've ever seen any player in
I've ever seen anybody do it.
That's right.
I remember back in the old days, I'm talking back in the 60s and early 70s, guys would smuggle hot dogs out, but that was a little, that was like a little bit of a different time in life.
We'll smoke a cigarette or two.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the Vikings, the teams that were the Vikings, you were on the same sidelines as the Minnesota Vikings.
That field. Yes.
Imagine that today, the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders on the same sideline in a game.
Well, Green Bay had it too for, I think, 4 games a year because they split.
For quite a while.
Milwaukee, Matt, used to both stand on the same sideline.
And the thing about AJ, the thing that he's such a outstanding, incredible football player. I mean, he really is. He's a difference maker. If they get him involved in this game against the Rams, their chances to win go up considerably, I think.
Right. No doubt.
I think he is the guy. I really, really believe that. If you let him and use his physicality to be able to play the game the way he can play it and include him, and then you sprinkle in Saquon, the Rams have got to have their hands full.
No doubt.
Yeah. Philadelphia's got a lot of options on both sides of the football, no doubt.
If they use them.
Yep. Well, what do you say, Matt?
I think this was great. I think we gotta replace the GOAT with the new GOAT, Joe Theismann, as the co-host of Sims Complete.
Now you're creating a farm. 2 goats.
Hey,
no doubt.
Hey, listen, his wife is Robin, who I've known since we were at ESPN, and I don't run into you guys very much, but she's very happy we took care of him for an hour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good.
Listen, I've always appreciated Diane. Trust me. I know what she has to deal with you. So we're both in the same way. At least, the boys turned out great, Phil. I can just tell you that the boys have turned out great. We're still works in progress.
Okay, I agree with that. But listen, you're the best. Really enjoy. Hey man, come on. I gotta tell you, you're gonna be nervous and all that Sunday or this weekend and Monday night, but even though you'll be nervous, it's great.
Oh, it is. I can't wait. I really can't. I'm so excited for the university. I'm so excited for those young men that put that uniform on, that wear that gold helmet. It's their moment. It's their time. And that's the thing you try and stress, as a quarterback, when you get your teams together, it's like, hey, look, this is our time.
Yeah.
We're here for a reason because we had everybody's back. We took care of one another. We got another opportunity. What you do in this game is going to be remembered for the rest of your life. And in some cases, for the history of the game of collegiate football. Right. So let's make it special.
Matt, Joe said that. What did that remind you of? It was Herb Brooks talking to that Olympic team before they went out against the Russians.
That's right.
This is your time.
That's
great. Well, I love that speech, man. I mean, I love it. And the players remember it word for word. And moments like this for the Notre Dame, for the Commanders and all the football players. Yeah, these are special moments they'll never forget in their life. So Joe
Theismann going for the Triple Crown this weekend. So he's already got a championship with the CFL and the Toronto Argonauts. He's going to go for that championship with the Washington Commanders and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We really appreciate, again, you coming on the show and joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Phil, Matt, thanks for having me, guys. We do a lot of these things, but I'll tell you, being with a dear friend and having a chance to talk about what we did together, and Matt, you getting a chance to hear the history of your dad and our history together, it was a lot of fun for me. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for doing it, man.
Okay, guys. All righty.